Hi, this is Kate Morgan with the Abortion Queen of the South podcast. If you can, please like, share, comment, and subscribe to make sure you don't miss an episode and to let me know what you think of this newest episode. So, this is a quick episode, but I'm just going to be honest. And I wasn't feeling it today, but some days I just absolutely hate anything that has to do with activism. For those of you who don't know, I'm also an author. I work a full-time job, and I do have the rigors of day-to-day life. I have 3 little fluff balls, taking care of the house, meal prepping, working out, having some sort of a social life, which tends to lack because I'm a notorious hermit and introvert, but it's something that I am working on. And activism just sometimes feels so pointless. It is having a moment now, and while it's nothing new, it seems more mainstream now and more acceptable. Since the dawn of time, various forms of activism have existed and continue to exist today. Whether reproductive rights, LGBT rights, Palestine, labor rights, or any other movement, it feels like all these issues should have been solved. So why the hell do we still have to fight? Honestly, some days I do hate activism. I wonder if there's a point. In 2024, these battles should have been fought. Some days it just feels pointless, and I wonder why I bother. I wonder if it's worth the stress that I've felt within the last year and worrying about what the future holds for me as a woman in America. I would give anything to be blissfully ignorant. I would give anything to not worry about whether or not I might have to move because of the abortion laws in Georgia. And luckily my county isn't prosecuting, but what if they decide to? What if we get a new DA? What if birth control gets banned? Would I have to either leave the country or would I have to go through voluntary hysterectomy, quote unquote, because birth control is literally the only thing that allows me to function some days with my periods being so bad. These are things I have to worry about. I have to worry about whether I want to get married, which I've always wanted, but I have to wonder if that's even worth it or a good idea, because what if they get rid of no-fault divorce? And you could look and say, oh, they're just religious wackos, but they got rid of Roe v. Wade, a constitutionally protected right of 50 plus, over, give or take 50 years. My math isn't mathing today, sorry guys. So it's terrifying and it's stressful. I think because you know the truth and you're not just blissfully ignorant, keeping up with the Kardashians or whoever. I think they got canceled, I don't know. I don't know a lot about celebrities besides a handful of musicians and actors. But, instead of keeping up with those things, I keep up with what's going on in the world, and it's pretty damn terrifying. There's some days I wonder if it's just a waste of time. As someone who values simplicity and efficiency, activism is incredibly time-consuming. You have to form relationships. You have to drive an hour each way just to lobby at the Capitol, make content, drive 2 hours each way when I can to volunteer as a clinic defender, and all that takes time. And some days I wonder if it's even worth it. I wonder if my commitment, what I'm putting in, and all that effort is going to ultimately pay off. And while I want to think that it will, and I'm pretty sure, I'm certain that it will, some days it just does not feel like it at all. And sometimes I even doubt myself and wonder if I'm doing it right. Should I go back on social media and promote our cause more? Granted, I don't miss social media. I know, I've thought about going back, but every time I've tried, I've just felt gross and weird being that accessible to people. I love people knowing my work. I love people knowing about me, but while I'm pretty outgoing, and despite being an introvert, I'm very outgoing, I'm still a private person. I'm wary about putting that much of my life online. With my work, I'll promote it all day long, but social media it's different because you're so much more accessible. Anyone can slide into your DMs. Anyone can comment. With YouTube, Medium, and a podcast, yeah, people can comment, but you can't just slide in a DM or really it's just a different vibe to me. I also wonder if I should go to protests. I've been to one protest in my life, and I'm notoriously introverted, and I'm not a huge fan of crowds. There's sometimes, I don't mind crowds in some situations, but they're overstimulating, and there are a couple concerts I would like to go to. I would give anything for Eras Tour tickets. And, I've been to sporting events and stuff too, and I've enjoyed it and had a fun time, but I'm just not a big fan of crowds because especially with COVID and all the mass shootings in recent years, I've just really come to like them less as I've gotten older. And I wonder if I should just listen to haters who claim to be on my side when trying something new because their way hasn't worked. And, it's not like they haven't had years. I think in activism, one thing that frustrates me is there is this sentiment, well, we've always done it this way and this way worked, so we're going to keep doing it this way and we don't like your way. Well, frankly, I hate to break it to you, but that's bullshit because their way didn't work. Roe v. Wade was overturned. Sure, it's worked for some things, but we've got to innovate. We've got to start doing new things. Otherwise, it's like that saying, evolve or die. If we're not evolving, we're dying. And I truly don't think there's a wrong way to be an activist. I think using your voice, using your platform and your talents to advocate for a cause is what's important. Some people do it through art. Some people, I do it mostly through writing and making content. I love going to the clinic and helping out. Granted, with my work schedule, that's not really a possibility right now because on my days off, the clinic is basically dead. But I actually do hope it stays dead because our head defender needs a break. But, I do go up when I can, and there's another clinic that's about the same distance away that needs help. So now that I'm at a good place in work, at my new job, and sort of settled in, I can start doing that again more. But I think people just get discouraged because there aren't always clinics nearby. There aren't always protests. Maybe you're like me and you're not a protest fan. Maybe you're not into all the legal stuff. Maybe you don't like lobbying. I'll be honest, I didn't think I was going to like lobbying. I thought lobbying was going to just be a terrible experience, but I actually really enjoy it. I really enjoy talking to my elected representatives because they're wonderful and they're on our side, and it feels collaborative. And honestly, this is going to sound so sadistic. I love bullying opposing politicians who are being cowards. There's one guy, state senator here in Georgia, Marty Harbin. He's a piece of shit. Do not like the guy. Have no respect for him. But he was the representative for this. There's a college kid who her district back home was in. Well, she was living in his district. Obviously, she's in school, but that's where she's from. Well, she was going to speak to him and just have a very, very classy, hopefully productive discussion about reproductive rights here in Georgia, how she felt, things that you're allowed to do as a citizen. Well, homeboy never came out of his little hole, right? He was in their chamber, or whatever you want to call it, where they meet and convene. I talked to my state senator, Nikki Merritt, who's wonderful, but yeah, he never came out. And I just looked at the guy who's supposed to go fetch him. I don't know what his exact title is in the cop. And I'm like, man, does he just he's really hiding from a college kid, huh? I was like, and I said it loud enough to where he can hear me. Because for people who don't know, I'm naturally loud. I'm 5'8". I'm not tiny by any means. I'm not huge. I'm not tiny either. I've got a pretty solid build. Long hair. I usually wear heels at the Capitol too, just because it's so fun to be taller than certain politicians. And I love looking down at them. It's a psychological thing. And I don't really have to deal with any of the ones that are really far right, insecure little bitch boys that would really hate that. But, that would be fun. That would be fun to do. A lot of them get very insecure about stupid things. I've actually, one of the most notorious antis that I've had to deal with, one way that I got rid of him was I just looked at him and I said, wow, you're a lot shorter in person. He just shook his head, huffed, and walked away. It was the greatest thing ever. So, yeah, but I called Senator Harbin a chicken shit in embarrassment to the state of Georgia. Would have done it to his face, but he, didn't want to come out. And then he hid. We tried to go corner him, but there must be some tunnels in the Capitol that we don't know about. Then I guess this woman who was his secretary was looking out. But, lobbying has actually been surprisingly rewarding. But I think people do get discouraged because they may not live near the Capitol. They may not live near a clinic. And, sometimes you can travel. We've had people travel to our clinic, but not all clinics are as open door. But I think if you want to do something, I think you can. I think even if it's just making TikToks, I know people who are really into Palestine, and while I do support the people in Gaza, I'm totally all for it. I've definitely shared a lot of their content. And I do plan on making some content about Palestine at some point when I get the chance. I just have not had time. I know people who, they don't really have a lot of time. I know somebody, she doesn't have a lot of time to do that. And she talks about Palestine and reproductive rights and other things. And her big thing is she just makes TikToks and she has a decent following and she shares them and educates people and they're very good. I'm no longer on TikTok and sadly I don't have her name, but even just that, if you're reaching people and you're trying to educate people, it may seem silly, it may seem narcissistic, but I think anything helps. I mean, activism can be daunting though. You can really get criticism, I think, from the older generations. But like I said, don't want to embrace things like social media. Don't want to embrace things like other ideas. They just go, we've done it this way, this works, we're doing it. When it isn't working. But while I do occasionally hate it, activism is incredibly rewarding. When the terrible anti-trans bill died here in Georgia, I actually feel accomplished that my days lobbying at the Capitol, making content and sending emails helped. When a patient gets an abortion that they need that will change the course of their life, I feel an accomplishment a sense of accomplishment as a clinic defender and a content creator who helped them make the best choice for them. I've helped people who've had abortions that have literally saved their lives because they would have died had they not received them. I've helped people get abortions to escape a partner that was no good for them and basically left them to be a baby mama when the minute they had planned a pregnancy and the minute she got pregnant, he dipped. I've helped people, at the clinic. We've had people who are domestic violence survivors. We've had children who've been raped, things you don't want to think about. And, between that and my content, these are just some of the stories I know that have helped people to get care they needed. And while an abortion isn't right for everybody, I've never said it is. I think people need to be able to make their choice what's right for themselves. I've heard stories from so many people, including older women, who I didn't know they'd have had an abortion, who had abortions for various reasons, and have thanked me for my work and my activism. And that means the world. And it's not even the ego thing. It's just knowing that you've helped somebody. And maybe if they had it, let's say someone who had it years ago, I've had older women talk to me and tell me they had it years ago and tell me about their experiences. Just knowing that hopefully people today do not have to face that stigma that is so beyond ridiculous and disgusting. That's what keeps me going. Knowing that people's lives are saved because of this work keeps me going. And that might sound incredibly narcissistic, but I know that my podcast has saved at least one life. And I just try to remember those moments when I'm feeling down. And, the other side is loud and they're obnoxious and they're generally assholes and they're well funded and, we're funded pretty well too, but you know what? They can guilt and lie so well. And they just, it seems like they get away with it. But at the end of the day, you may not believe in karma, but karma believes in you. And maybe I'm just overly optimistic. Maybe I'm delusional, but I do think that things generally sort themselves out in the end. I really do. That's been my experience in life, and I think activism is no different. But I am also notoriously impatient, and it's really hard when you're having to play a long game like activism, especially when things can be so discouraging. And while there is no right way to be an activist, try new things and just keep what works for you. Like I said, I really am not a protest person. Now, if you wanted me to go speak at a rally, I'll do it. Public speaking does not bother me at all. I can speak anywhere, anytime, you name it, I'll be there. I can make a speech literally like 5 minutes and nail it and blow you away, right? Not everyone can do that. But I think your voice deserves to be seen and heard, and you need to try to, even though it's daunting in a way, I think you need to have fun with activism. I have some fun content that I can't wait to do, especially after a heavy and stressful legislative session. I'm so ready for some fun content. But while there are some days that I do hate it, it is worth it, and just seeing these changes that help society is beyond rewarding. Activism is an incredibly long game, but as long as we don't quit, we can win. And I think we will win. So, with that being said, please be sure to like, share, comment, subscribe, and just let me know your thoughts about activism and your experiences. I think it can be very daunting, and I think even if it's literally just 5 minutes a week, like that's better than nothing. There's that saying, I'm slowly getting back in shape after being really sick last year. You know, a bad workout's better than no workout, and you're lapping everybody on the couch. So just remember that if you're feeling discouraged, and hopefully have a great day.